Hello, I can't find any citation down there. Here is a quick study. U.S. President's quick study guide. I want to read to you about George Washington, about the cherry tree, because CT, there are proofs that this, even if it was made up, but let's see, it says facts. Beyond the tale of chopped down cherry tree, boyhood tale of chopped down cherry tree is among most famous stories told about him. Yet no evidence confirms it is true. He worked as a surveyor prior to entertaining politics, was an avid spelunker, which is a cave explorer, and kept detailed diaries from age 16 until death. So boyhood tale of chopping down cherry trees is the story, if everyone hasn't heard about. George Washington was said to have. So they asked him if he chopped down a cherry tree. He said, "I cannot lie, I chopped down the cherry tree." Or something, or I don't know if that's the correct way they tell the story, or if there was a little intricate detail in there missing. But CT is where Connecticut is where he came. George Washington, right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War with the French general, and had to leave overt slavery in the North and in the South, because there was a whole bunch of nations there and here involved with slavery, which requires equality of fact, treatment, nature, counter. In other words, not counter, just standing, integrity, understanding, not counter or forward, understanding that is capable of countering what is exploiting, obfuscated understanding of each modern nation, maintain defending roles within as negative value nature progression. Acts and natures, causes blamed on other things, on others, on selves. Because we're in a tactically ulterior from already revealed this value nature system /S. The systems plural. All tactically ulterior from the perfect value progressions, the phenomena of being the perfect value nature system. The perfect science, the perfect order to the campus Marcius. The identity, the sciences share, that English was revealed to teach. And with Allah's name, but as a simultaneous nature. Not debating that there's other... So I believe it was Neil deGrasse Tyson, said that at the subatomic level, you could look at, I guess it's particles. And the second you look at it, it moves over to another side. See, there are three natures of the invisible but still discernible in conjunction with the completely invisible but still discernible through a relationship, an identity of relationship to that simultaneously. Progressively, and as inherently, actively, and progressively manifest three natures of volume bonded by and as the identity of one coming into them, as the phenomenon of more positive or negative value nature, but in relationship to its identity of value progression, perfect, self-generating. Before there was matter. This matter had to be generated before combined. And this is most probable because there are proofs that only when we're valuing the nature of the bond, which is a nature of simultaneously as a semi-nature, as what goes away, it's in demonstration of value as nature. In other words, the value of what bonded it. Before the smallest thing, boxing. This is while being that. Then the first smallest thing, the finite of each person, the value of body of value discernment. Clear, invisible, but clear. If I say door, without there being a door, if I say tire, you could see a tire. I mean, the invisible can be discerned, and that's value. And it has values, nature's relationship to itself. If I say positive, water is positive, you know what I'm talking about. If I say water is negative, you know what I'm talking about. Because it has an identity of relationship to this value that is inseparable from each, in demonstration of the nature of our volume, which is not just positive and negative, and a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more of the phenomena of our identity forced to be feeling that as a quality of diffusion, as the value of us simultaneously, individual, grouped, vertically and horizontally. Horizontally, sexes, vertically, ages, grouped, everything. Simultaneously, that's the progressive value, a progressive nature of volume exists. Progression exists so we can discern that and how a progressive nature of volume exists. And inherent, active, and nature and progressive, these are bonded. What is now active is simultaneously inherent and progressive. And while in an active phase though. So in other words, each identity, the identity that is a Trinity before the finite, smaller than it, and while being the smallest thing, it has this attached to it. Also has attached to it as an increasing nature of volume, a positive or negative relationship to the completely invisible but still discernible, positive or negative relationship to itself that perfect value progression's identity of value has. And Allah's name was revealed to teach this. As other nations, other words for God. There are 100 names of Allah. This is my belief just from the first part of the Quran, because I even don't have to read the rest, because of how they took. That's all it says. If you understand it too, all I have to do is say. It also, even if you're not a Muslim, it says value non-Muslims. What it's saying not to value is about criminal, in other words, criminal insidiousness in nature. Theater positives and motivations and wrongdoers and natures of that, like that. Natures of crimes like predicate acts and things like that. I'm not a lawyer, not police form, not criminal. Organized crime terms. Criminal insidious natures. Forced by a nature of relationship to our nature self. Just like each identity of each body has the hierarchy of self, where that complete identity is simultaneously a semi-nature in relationship to the organ itself, the complete identity of organ itself, or the complete identity of us that is of. Identity's hierarchy. Our complete identity is simultaneously an unceasing semi-nature relationship to perfect value progression, as values nature's progression, simultaneous with that. And we're inside values nature's progression, as value nature. And so we'll examine how the letters are value. Values as lasting value, that is positive or negative, as letters, they are temporary positive given. But this is as a quality of diffusion in relationship to what the top of the Z and the bottom of the Z is revealed to teach, because this is how they are. There is an identity, therefore, inseparable from each one, from and as the value of each one of the letters / value natures at the same time. Value natures, because this is how most probably the ancients were revealed English speaking and to be taught. For example, with value A, letter A, the dash in the middle between the two, I forgot the name of it now, the two long bars. That shows to discernment two natures of invisible but still discernible. In other words, they're showing that our Trinity nature's inseparable relationship to itself. Anywhere there's physical or metaphysical value, which is small, greater than small, that way great, greater than big, that way great, Allah Akbar. And body of the value discernment, positive or negative in relationship to that. This is Trinity discernment. This is simultaneously English would reveal the proofs that Yin Yang was revealed to teach as a simultaneous nature revealed by our species, valuing individual rights, group sexes rights, and species value, not rights, value, / value nature relationship to what? Value nature's perfect progression, which causes what? Forced Lethe of Hades if it's not a positive relationship to itself, because it's a progression perfect. Or forced more volume of our nature, Earth's, that has no criminal foreign influences, therefore progresses, gains a nature of volume that is forever nature positive in relationship to the identity that is the value, the perfect value progression that bonded all things, boxings, greater than all space, forged in relationship to this. Space is a semi-nature and demonstration of this identity nature, with and as all things at once at the same course. Value is greater than value's nature as identity. And as value and as its nature, those are the only two semi-natures that are a constant, complete nature relationship to the identity of all the Trinity. This is Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Trinity. This is also Alpha. When Jesus Christ says He is the Alpha, He is the Omega. This is about polarity nature, told other than the books have told. They say stream of consciousness. This is force-based nature transfer, Lethe of Hades, when we're a negative identity of relationship to itself, or a positive relationship to itself. But as a value nature system, as the perfect value nature system that these were our tactical ulterior from, and as one using fact treatment nature, as science, as value, that is tactically de-evolved, to be defended that way, to have all formal, stay victim, predator, causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. This is demonstrably way more plausible and in many ways true, but being blocked by offensive theories with each of the sciences, and with physical delusions with them offensive. At the same time, simultaneous, not by accident. Everyone's victim predators to this, maintained to each nation. Now, for example, this is what I came. I wanted to talk about. So I can't believe anyone can see it. It's easy for everybody to see. Common sense. How there is pseudo-care. In other words, tactically denatured relationship to nature. Ignored. Especially, in other words, pseudo-care. Hurt. Torture. Identity thefts. Areas worst, tactically denatured. But no one will let that spoke. And no one will let it demonstrated how that is simultaneously for the same sick thing, but simultaneously so sickly distinctly to hide how sickly non-distinctly. How having kept and how keeping originally in state all roles criminally foreign influence, criminal and seditious natures. What motivated roles with slavery? What motivated the best we could do is to stay fake when it was overtly recorded, known by all. I can't deny it, but by lies, delusions. See, this is how our natures of nations were forced to play integrity as child abused. By this with areas with overt criminal enterprises and uncharged nations that were criminally legalized as criminal enterprises with no one understanding how that makes everyone criminal in seditious natures because you can't criminally legalize that. And that is maintaining not just stream of consciousness. That's maintaining negative value nature progressions, acts and natures. Acts like predicate acts, natures like wrongdoers and like associate criminals. Facilitated then to motivations to roles with all kinds of drug crime roles. Collusion with the counters to it. With other natures of drug crime roles. Database crime roles. Finite body of value, progressive lie roles. Identity theft roles. With the areas maintained in collusion with courts. All victim predators of what was very subtle. It's subtle. It's making everybody think there's a lot of haters, but there's line progressions that are being maintained, needed, facilitated, to be only discerned by collusion interbranch and foreign, facilitated here, there. I'm not fathoming how it was facilitated. Like their roles and motivations that led to it, their roles with Trade Center crime acts. Crime roles with kids. Not letting people report because they're forcing a quality of native fact-cheating nature even against kids with courts of each age of fact-cheating nature. This was confessed and recorded also out of sequence using confessions as a means for natures of identity theft that kept originally propagated criminally foreign influenced states and areas, victim predator roles, juxtaposed private, juxtaposed overt criminal enterprises, juxtaposed unrealized ones, juxtaposed only let realized to spots, victim predator reactions, group things, isolation things, overall exploitation things. Groupthink, I don't know who came up with that term. I heard it from George Bush. And it's a great term. And it's tied to mission creep, which is what they call a phrase they had for how we got into the World War and Second World War. It's not because they shoot at the Lusitania, because demonstrably the most concise and proper answer about how we got into World War was because the nations that were shared, states and areas in collusion with what was through and as every nation at once, all victim predator roles at Oz from semi-ancient trap. What the best answer is for Is, in other words, that's why George Washington had to leave slavery here. They stole his identity. He didn't have free speech with James Madison. That's proved by the surface of the Constitution, by what they risked to try to keep it up. In other words, they didn't want slavery. They had. That's like attacking a victim predator who never had to know how to react to anything psycho like that in their lives, and blaming them because they have a little bit better off of one of the slave jobs. Because that's what our founders were: fact, treating nature slaves, physical slaves, time slaves, quality of fact, treating nature slaves with everybody. They did this to the Native Americans first. Again, they turned them against each other because everyone had a tactically denatured relationship to nature. It wasn't just trading. It wasn't what they call hunter and gathering or whatever trading. It was to influence our relationship to the value nature system, where our quality of fact treatment nature. That's one of the things. It is always at once. In other words, there are proofs with the ancient gaming system. We're going to take counter positions, and we're going to have to vote on them, and we're going to have to monetize the New York game, and interactions with little rap guy and friends. With the New York game is also about the organized crime we have to treat uses of color as. Because those questions are not only just not answered and not ignored, that is exploited and anticipated needing that to keep doing that, because that was exploited, facilitated to exploiting that since before anyone was born, since before our founders entrenched here and there. This could have killed all the Native Americans. It's not just because they were psycho. They were dividing and conquering for long-term, tactically denaturing our relationship to nature, investing everybody needing to blame it on other causes and thinking it on other causes. It wasn't just to control the value nature system. It was to control fact treatment nature. It's to invest fact treatment nature to roles with it, invest into the defenses of justifications or convictions of what blaming on other things and on others and on selves, what nature itself continues to force negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures and demonstration of, which is the devalued campus Marcius versus campus Marcius correlation nature rolls together. Spelled with C, one with a T. We're going to take positions to vote on it because we're going to need leaders, and we're just going to mean stack. And we can do, I'll believe you species beggar. We could mean stack. We could break zoning laws together. It's not even breaking the zoning law. We have to understand law the whole time. Otherwise, it doesn't work. We have to be a quality of fact, treatment nature from the point that negative value nature progressions, acts in nature started demonstrating, which is the point where the republic for which we stand, yet barely, because this was a value revealed by nations working together, valuing individual value, group value, which sexes, ages, and species at once. That value, the value of that, is to discern the completely invisible but still discernible identity of relationship to itself. That perfect value progression has, that we are inside the nature of, that is the nature of positive and negative, no matter where we go, what we do. That's why we want water, need water, food. We could even make money So I want to even put money into it. All we have to do is admit this. We can use our armies. We'll agree to do it at once. We got to do a species recuperation at least. You know, if y'all do, what is it called? Bah humbug. I don't know if that's probably not the real Santa Claus is serious, because this is about misprision criminality. I'm not loyal. She's phone. But that's where the means come from. Is the forever nature, which is an identity of relationship to itself, which is the perfect value progression has that makes being positive value nature better and better, or worse and worse, because it's two natures of volume expanding, perfecting it, the phenomenon of a little bit more of the phenomenon of the only semi-nature that's positive. Well, I mean, all are, because they're attached to this. But a little bit more the complete nature coming into the value, coming into the temporary / lasting quality of diffusion, because it's unseen. It's three parts of itself, and its whole identity is inseparable from those three parts, wherever they are. The smallest thing has the smaller. For the two smallest things next to each other, they cannot be. They cannot part 5 bonded parts. Someone please tell Neil deGrasse Tyson. I think he's the one who said that. Who taught me about atomic, because I never even read about it. I never saw a particle, you look at it, it goes the other way at the subatomic level. But you could tell what is true always. See, this is science that would have caused positive value nature progressions, evolutions a long time ago. Right now, for means, what is it called? Healthcare, all kinds of it. I forgot the terms, whatever. Pantheism, where it's science, but it's using prayer. To the extent that prayer is a nature of relationship to the identity of science's value progression, discernment that requires it. It's like an artist staring at someone trying to build. Did I make it the best way I could? Did I make this program? Is this really in my being taking shortcuts? You know what I'm saying? Is it going to be fundamentally sound so it grows and thrives? And it's positive also. See, what makes inventions work or not work, and then further positive or negative in relationship to itself, is because three natures of volume have an inseparable relationship to itself. As an identity, as an identity that is self-generated. So we must be its auto-creator. Return. Campus Marxist deeds the name. Called Lost and Found. We'll train. Don't lose our cool. Forgive the name. In the nature of relationship to nature. Tactically denatured. To afford to means to counter this, we have to admit to it. We have cars that go by places every day. People would just go in their backyard, dig a few shovels. You know what I'm saying? Drop off. Say drive. See, we have to see people stacking and the extent of that. So we need vertical and horizontal reliefs in the conversation of this monetized. As a simultaneous nature, but forcing it from bottom up. Simultaneously, forcing that, the nature that is valued before that, in other words, like in other words, where we can get bedrock next to that. Or right, maybe it's just right on the perfect spot. You know, we're going to make like increase space and build what is unfathomable through individual means. Private means in a system tactically ulterior, originally instilled from a bridged constitution, pretended other. That's not let because we don't have a quality of fact treatment nature let. That's why there were proofs that there were probably 3 natures of statutes. Like the ancients probably had English and Latin, where if you're in jail, for example, you need habeas corpus rights to be able to sue from jail. See, but what they left out was the whole understanding, because then if the jail's corrupt and with the courts and stuff like that, which is recorded originally still, and a part of the St. Nicholas was put in jail with these courts, and then taken to, when he got out, to figure out with the church how they were going to defend their positions on the law, where everyone's a liar. Everyone's a victim predator, only capable of it. Now, I mean, at the time, we have no excuses now. The only excuses, that's why politics are pretending politics mean what they don't. See, in other words, we need another nature of statutes. Like, so in other words, never yell in court. They'll put you in jail. They'll torture you in jail. They'll try to force drugs in you. They probably will. They don't care if they damage you. They have people recorded, confessed, and demonstrably sickly, foreign and domestic, with psychology, with physical delusions, juxtaposed with criminal foreign influences. There and here, juxtaposed with that, juxtaposed interbranching with prisons and intercampuses training of that. Roles with these psychologists as experts in relationship to everything that facilitated the branches reliant upon them as per a space method that they're juxtaposed with. And as fake nations, there was the same crime roles against us here and against like Russians there. As them here and there, everyone's a victim predator identity of negative value nature progression since the ancient times. See the suits and ties. The counters don't understand too, because everyone is through science is criminally re-engineered. That was the subject, implied, demonstrated by the first part of the Old Testament, written in English. I never read it in any other language. And of the Quran, written in English. I never read it in any other language. The first part, talking about people who pretend they were about truths always. See, this is exploiting exception nature. How and why we can see in other words, the identity of all things at once is not always black and is not always white. The identity of all things at once is always clear. Space is juxtaposed with clear value. No, in other words, invisible but still discernible value. In other words, I shouldn't say clear, like, and then has completely invisible but still discernible per its relationship to that and that to us at the same time. Trinity has a Trinity / value / Trinity relationship to itself. As 3 natures overall, grouped and and inherent value. There are proofs that Earth is closest to the greatest inherent, the greatest, and closest to the inherent nature of volume that are the three semi-natures coupled, inseparable from the semi-nature of a little bit more of the identity of the complete identity of space coming to temporary / lasting space nature. Clear. That means appear. So little rap guy and friends, to show the world this, because they're not allowed to teach or talk about police things. They're all raised as victim predators, the same way the gangs were. Evil as heck. Each branch. Originally still, same way motivated to it. Per a theater upon each age of fact-checking nature. So we've had a whole bunch of nations here with job sites. There was like reportedly good source, like Fidel Castro had a bodyguard. And they're a little island. See, we have a little island like Puerto Rico too. Victims, and they don't know who to blame it on. And they're forced to react. So forced to blame it on other things, others, and themselves. We have that recorded, the facades of businesses, criminal, the infrastructural pathology that was forced by the slavery of our founders that was forced. Their identity thefts into databases through our schools today. Fake care. In other words, fake patriotism. No, but totally, you can know the most facts about American history, but if you don't understand and can't comprehend that how they had our founders with no free speech. They had laws that were using color because they were crazy against every single person. If anyone even met to build houses, I learned this notes at CCSU, Central Connecticut State University. If they found someone was talking to me to build houses outside of inter-nation monitored database relationships, not just forced monitored together by reasons they realized, but what was holding them needing to do it so sickly. A method involved with those meetings too, and no one discerning, because it's playing how we are grouped, finite. We're a finite group in progressive value at the same time. When we're that simultaneously, that's the only time it's causing positive value nature progressions. That causes evolution. That's the only time positive environmental change. When it is not that together, cause negative value nature progressions, Lethe of Hades. Suit and tie nations counters to it all, Lethe of Hades, an identity of negative value nature progression. Nuclear weapons themselves are proved, and how long they've been there, and now no one points out. Mira, you know what I'm saying? How to say? And I don't think even Puerto Rico has a nuclear weapon, but I'm saying chemical weapons is what they're in relation to. Everyone's tortured, pseudo care. Each nation is sickly, hurt distinctly, to keep each modern nation needing to react as fact treatment nature quality, then defended and valued for already only let known valued fake. Missed all that's juxtaposed with that. What they did to their what they did to Native Americans, knowing that in some ancient times they could trick modern nations into devaluing the relationship to internation science, the value of internation sciences. They could tactically degrade the value of areas and state sciences, the long words, the value of the long words of the areas and states and sciences. There are proofs that a time came. I never read this, but there are proofs that they use that word, whatever language, long words. Each modern nation, not just Native Americans, but as a native nature, with no criminal foreign influences. That's the subject of our course. In other words, we have to see even, you see the lawns in the suburbs, that's tactically denatured soil underneath. In other words, no life in it. You see how we have, so to omit these things, we start setting up growing the seeds, because we're going to need all kinds of plants. You know what I mean? We need oxygen. Where does it come from? Not concrete. You know what I'm saying? We need fish. Where does it come from? Not chemical carrying rivers and seas with all kinds of things in it. Plastic particles break. Disgusting. When we have cars, natives, before cars, you let them alone. They probably had a paradise where they had, like, for example, you have a beaver. They're going to change their thing. You're going to look and you're going to see. This is where the catfish were living. You know, they dry out or something. And then you see how you learn science, how they survive, what kind of things they like, and what makes them be able to survive in a pond with a whole bunch of species together. In other words, catfish, eels, largemouth bass, you know, sunfish. The fish people could eat clean, you know. See, but we have natures of industry that no one can fathom other. But see, that's why we can have natures of reliefs if we admit this together, because we're in the same exact torture there and here, and recorded blaming on other things and others and ourselves. What really caused this? Recorded making the same mistakes and being used with physical delusions, criminal foreign influences, with acceptations on what capitalism is, on what communism is, as value. As every value is obfuscating values course, which is a constitution unabridged, of course, not fit to a concept, sub rosa, or just socially forced as a premise like that, or as, you know, with convictions that are dishonest, as a quality of fact treatment nature that demonstrates we need beyond just habeas corpus. We get put in their crazy jails too. Need the right to be able to force them, because they're just liars that are forcing you don't tell on what they're forcing sustained against each age of fact treatment nature, each person individually, grouped together progressively and sequentially, because they have what fits with interbranch liars, intermilitary liars, originally still being used, a very minority, but this is where a fact treatment nature is already reliant upon quality of fact treatment nature that is relied upon identities of value, relied upon other experts, and with that relied upon their identity of value, trained to do that. And that was as originally and still exploited criminally. Our fact treatment nature's value/value nature relationship to itself as a fact treatment nature, as one of the things it is when it is always something true and not denying any exceptions, as it is when it is identity and when it is referred to as value. Identity of value progression is a progression as well. It is inherent, active, and progressive. Yeah. Lost course appears and means. One way redeems. Yin Yang is simultaneously painting two natures, three natures, the two overall and the two smaller inside that, and the round, the bonding it. It is simultaneously painting the value of that bond as Allah's relationship to Allah's self. Don't have to agree about the name, Allah, but that it proves it goes with Alpha and Omega, and with English, and with simultaneous nature. Because there's three natures. In other words, we're not sure what we think is God, we call God. But what we know is all ways. We know all ways, in other words. There's a fact-treatment nature, a value that causes value progression. The identity of value progression we are. The value of it. The extent of it is debatable. But not without lies and delusions that this is true. And this is how you can see the importance of understanding and not denying the smallest exception. Because not only is it both value and fact treatment nature always, not denying any exceptions, but is so distinctly and non-distinctly. And as value and as nature. So, we'll examine how the letters are valued in nature. Things, things. I'm being extorted. I will, whatever. We'll come to this. Vaccines. It tells us things. Yin Yang is simultaneously painting 5 natures as value, no. While painting the 3 as value, as nature, too, simultaneously. While painting an identity of relationship to itself, and as itself, that simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly, each letter of the alphabet has. There are proofs that Yin Yang was revealed, was one of the things that helped them reveal English, and means to teach about Alpha and Omega, which is polarity inseparable from Trinity nature, which is an identity of relationship to itself, as temporary/lasting forever nature, but as a quality of diffusion, constant, as a semi-nature relationship to perfect value progression. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, Anthony Wall. YouTube channel, Romulus. YouTube channel, youtube.com/user/Romulus Wall is my YouTube channel. But this is for Little Rap Guy and Friends. And we don't want to miss the Christmas episode of Little Rap Guy and Friends, where they could, I don't know if we're supposed to sing other people's songs. Excuse me. Okay, thank you, YouTube Value Nature System. Thank you, Species Value Nature System. And I don't know if we're supposed to say God bless us each and every one or that's from a Christmas tale or something. That's another movie. I have an intro. Hello, Species Value Nature System. I have an outro. So I'll just say goodbye. Have a good evening. Boxing, he tells us things. Prepare as one. Never be the value of tribe. We are never value of as a legion, not as tribe. For correlation, rise, done. See value calm. See native draw. So the Scientific Cause is all about returning, about the means of our nature's positive relationship to the identity that was greater than space before it bonded it to matter and stays there. As big as space gets, one identity of as nature is finite, active, and progressive. All identities of progression at once. Every even metaphysical value, discern, value nature, discern, rabbit, little rap guy. You have to know Little Rap Guy, which is a cartoon character, from Little Rap Guy and Friends from youtube.com/user/Romulus Wall. I tell you all, prepare, we fall and fall and fall. Lethe of Hades gets strong. So even peaceful nuclear weapons, Lethe of Hades, that's a negative relationship to the identity of our volume, of our nature of volume, as its own, as ours, as an extent of it beyond us always. Who prays? Away. Come running from your prayers, awake through dreams, awake the teams. Religion train, be legion once again is one. Be trial tribes. This correlates. The legion's name was stole as well, relies. All lost and found. Good night each town.